Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday night nonfiction post-SHTF book club. We've got Scott Hummer, Diana too, and Little Lone Prepper are already all here. Golly, so glad to see you all. We are continuing on. We've only got 2 chapters left, tonight and tomorrow and next week. The Ultimate Prepper Pantry Survival Guide. Tonight we're focusing on Chapter 8, The Psychology of Preparedness, Managing a Proper Prepper Mindset in Your Pantry Plan. I'm going to be augmenting that with a little bit of information out of this book, Critical Nuclear War Survival Skills by Carlos Mack. He does good stuff. But I want to remind you all to get ready because we've got this week and next week in this book. We're finishing up this book. So next week we will be talking about let me get to the index here. Adapting to change, how to navigate shifting scenarios for 90-day survival. We'll kind of talk a little bit about that this week. We'll merge into that next week. I have a timeline that I've developed on what are your reactions to a catastrophic event? What is society's reactions to a catastrophic event? And so then how do you prepare yourself for your role, what you know is going to happen to you, as well as how that's going to affect how you interrelate with other people and how they are dealing with the catastrophe. So quite an integration. It's all going to be talk about stuff. I wish I had Prepping with Sarge here. He's an expert on this, but mierda pasada in Spanish, or Говно является in Russian, or Scheiße stimmt in German. Poo-poo occurs. That's, wish we had them. Okay, let me check and see who all's here. People are coming in by the droves. So Diana too, Little Lone Prepper. And then Sue-Me, good evening, welcome. I'm glad that you are getting electricity and everything. Sue-Me has been pounded. Her area has been pounded and hammered with snow and cold weather. We are currently 28 degrees here in the Austin area. And let me check and make sure that I'm not lying to you. Let me see. How do you spell weather? There we go. 25. It's worse than I told you. And it's going to get down to 18 here shortly. Wow. I thought it was 28 for the night, but we've got our pipes dripping and everything else. Our pipes here in Texas, the reason that we have such a hard time with rain, snow, freezing weather here is we don't have the infrastructure like you do up north. Our ground is basically rock. We don't have that much topsoil. So to dig down, we're actually digging through rock to put our pipes in. So we don't put our pipes very low. Most of our pipes are probably 6 to 8 inches underground. Whereas up north, you're going to have your pipes probably 3 to 5 feet underground. So you've got that layer of warmth above them so that they don't freeze as readily as ours do. We react to freezing weather here a lot more dramatically than you do up north. We don't have, there's no need for us to buy snow removal equipment or de-icing equipment. So here what we do is when it have ice on the roads, our dump trucks go on, they have spreaders, basically like a manure spreader, and they spread primarily sand. Good thing about that is the undercarriages of our vehicles don't have to be coated because, sand you just wash off. It's not as corrosive as salt is up north where you guys get that all the time. So, there are advantages and there are disadvantages to each one. Sue-Me showed me a picture of snow where she lives, and oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. I loved it when I lived in Germany, looking out the window with the cold or with a hot mug of hot chocolate in my hand, or a good bowl of German borscht, not borscht, but goulash. That was great to look at, terrible to go out into, but I think it's just gorgeous to look at. Okay, let's see, Sue-Me, and then who else do we have here? Devil Dog Prepper, I just saw him over on Hudson Valley Prepping about half an hour ago. Utah Mike, Suzanne Goulet. Golly, look at all these fantastic people. Let's see here. So Suzanne says that the importance of psychology mindset cannot be underestimated in prepping. Definitely did not want to miss tonight. Well, thank you. I hope we meet your expectations. This is a great book. It's a great chapter. I really like it. No, I'm sorry, it's the wrong book. This book. This book has a fantastic chapter on it. 2 chapters, because it will continue on next week. And this one has some fantastic information on it as well. So both of those books have great information. We're going to be focusing on this one tonight. So hopefully we'll meet your expectations. Let me see. Kaylin, good evening. Welcome from Iowa. And I hope things are a little bit better there. Let me see here. Anybody else? Tammy Harder. Gosh, that's another fantastic name to see here. 0 degrees outside. Wow. I haven't seen that. I think the last time I saw that was in Bremerhaven, Germany, back in I want to say 87. Now here in Texas, what happens is we've got 25 going down to 18 tonight, and they're saying that Monday will be in the 80s. So we have really wide changes as far as weather. They say if you don't like the weather in Texas, wait 10 minutes. And that's usually fairly true, except when it gets cold, it gets doggone cold. When it gets hot, it's, I think people are sentenced here, religious sentences to come here. Shenanigans, good evening. Good to see you. Okay, let's see if we can't tackle a little bit of this fantastic book. Get the right one. Have too many here. Oh, and don't forget, a week from tomorrow, we're working on this book. So this is going to be fiction. There's a lot of nonfiction stuff in it, but it's all wrapped up into a fiction scenario. So we're going to talk about that. Look at all the stuff that is liberal supposition on her part that you kind of have to go into hyperbolic context in order to get that to occur. But we'll be talking about that. Sumi says it's currently 8 degrees there, going down to 0. When we talked earlier, wasn't it something like -2 or 3 at your place when we talked earlier? I think if I remember right. Oh gosh, Kaylin, let me tell you, if you go to oops.com, OUPES.com/training, it's a solar power supply company. They've got a series of 8 videos. They're probably 2 or 3 minutes long. Really good videos. It's a basic introduction to electricity, how the panels work, how you can judge the strength of your panels, how you can hook them up to get more amperage, or you can hook them up to get more volts. And I mean, really great training. It'll probably take you a total of 20 minutes, but I strongly recommend it. OUPES.com/training. But yeah, really good. Devil Dog Prepper says he just became an affiliate. I would love to. They looks like they have great I love their the training that I did with them earlier today. As a matter of fact, what happened was I've done a lot of research. They get a lot into the TTAPs, which was the Carl Sagan nuclear winter theory of the 60s. And so I've done a lot of ChatGPT, AI. What is the possibility and probability of nuclear winter? And if so, how will we get electric power? And so it says basically that 80% of the sun's rays will be blocked from coming to the earth. So most solar systems won't be effective. It strongly recommends that you get either wind powered or hydro powered or mechanical, which is going to be either you riding a bike or turning a crank with your hands or something like that. And so I was looking for companies. I just did a search. I ended up on OUPES.com/training. But I was trying to find, are there companies that have kits with both a windmill as well as a solar panel, or do they have one of those pedal mechanical generators, you might call it, so that we could use that in a post-nuclear nuclear winter scenario. So is there a way we can generate power without using the sun? So if anybody has any ideas on that, please send them to me, email. I really want to learn what are our options and how can we do it. Let me see here. We'll catch the good chat. Okay, fantastic. Let me put on my reading glasses and we can get through this. The psychology of preparedness, managing a positive prepper mindset. So he talks about maintaining a positive mental attitude. That's PMA. That's consistent with what is here. That's also consistent with what is here. So, the PMA, positive mental attitude, is going to be extremely important. And we're going to talk about understanding the psychological impact of a crisis. And so you start here's let me try to give kind of a graph. If you're an average person, you have your normal psychoses and neuroses, and then you have a catastrophic event and it lowers it down, let's say this consistent amount. So now you're at the point of doing something to yourself harmful or not being able to take care of yourself or whatever, then this can become a fatality. Okay. On the other hand, if you take that same level and you have a positive mental ability and you psyched yourself up for what you know is inevitable, then that decrease doesn't take you down to the fatality. It takes you down into the partially incapacitated, but with a plan, you can come out of that incapacitation. Does that make sense? So the fall will continue to be, how much you psychologically fall will be consistent. So what you want, if knowing that, what you want to do is you want to elevate your preparation for that fall so that when you do fall, it's not down into the bad zone. You tell Mike, if I find one, I will be more than happy to let you know. You'll probably, if I find one, you'll probably see it on my pantry haul, one of my pantry haul videos. So Kaylin Strain is saying that Gil on Gray Man Prepping wants to create a bicycle type generator, which is fantastic. So one of the things we got to do is we got to prepare ourselves mentally for a worst case scenario. So what is the worst possible thing that you can imagine happening? And say, this is what's going to happen. Now, how prepared can I be to keep myself from falling into that hole? And if you can do that, then everything else is a slice of cake. Well, maybe a slice of liver cake. I don't know. It's not going to be easy. That's for sure. That's another thing is you just have to maintain the reality that it's going to be crap. It is not going to be anything that anybody wants to survive. But if you have the mental and physical preparedness, then you'll be able to make it through it. So he talks about how to build a positive mindset. He has several different things. Creating a sense of accomplishment as you do things. So as I do things, I set goals for things. I don't do New Year's resolutions. Okay, I set goals. Okay, so one of my goals is I want to have my HF station up and running with both a horizontal antenna and a vertical antenna no later than the end of February. I am so close. If it weren't raining and sub-zero today, it would be accomplished today. I'm going to wait until the weekend when it's probably going to get back up into the 80s. But I should have my HF station up and running here shortly. So what am I going to do? I'm going to celebrate that. I'm going to communicate with a whole bunch of friends. That's for sure. And then what you want to do is you want to break that down into smaller steps. Okay. So some of the things I have to do is I have to make space for it. I have to make sure I have grounding for it. I have to make sure that I have the cable. I think I showed you the PMA 330, which is the routing system that goes through the window. So you don't have to worry about putting a hole in anything. Then I'm going to run my RG55 cable from the window all the way out to my antenna farm. And then I've got my conductor, not conductor, but non-conductive guy wires so that I can string my NVIS half wavelength in-fed antenna in the backyard. So everything should be up Saturday. So that's how I'm setting up my goals. Okay. Then I can celebrate once I get that accomplished. My big accomplishment is I want to be on the AmRon test net by the end of March. I want to have them in my logbook that I've communicated with them. So, and as you have different milestones, celebrate those. When you know you've accomplished, let's say a 90-day supply of stockpile of food, or a 180-day stockpile of food, or a 360 stockpile, celebrate those. Take yourself and your other person out and celebrate. Have a good time. Have a dinner. You've achieved something, and you need to celebrate that. Foster a learning environment. So keep asking the hard questions, and then, look for the solutions and look for various ways to do that. I have a list. I don't know why, but every time I look for something, I encounter these tangents that are interesting. And so I have to keep a list of all the tangents that now become new things I want to investigate as I move along. I certainly know one thing. I don't know 5% of what I need to know. That's guaranteed. Engage in group discussions. There's, no one of us is as good as all of us. So even in these chats, take a look at the chats. For example, Kaylin gave that suggestion to somebody to check out Gray Man Prepping because he wants to do the pedal bike as far as electric generation. Imagine if we were face to face, or if we had a group discussion on, say, Google. What is it? I forget the name of the meetup group in Google, but you have 45 minutes where you can have a discussion. Imagine if we could do that. Oh, would anybody be interested in doing that on a regular basis? Say late on Sunday evening or something? That sounds interesting. We could just have an open forum, but everybody would see each other and we'd all be talking. But golly, wouldn't that be fantastic? Each other helping each other. We'll have to check into that. Let me see. Catch up on your methane creators here. Welcome. You are so correct. And that's the next thing. Engage in group discussions, and then optimism and challenges, and then have a support group. You are so right, methane creator. There's nothing as good as having somebody that you can open your thoughts to, open your feelings to, and get some support from them. They can hold you up and you can hold them up. And it's a mutual support environment, and absolutely important that we have small groups of people who are working together to accomplish a common goal and can mutually support each other as you go along. There will be frustration. Okay. There will be anxiety. There will be failure. So acknowledge that now, that it's not going to be an easy road. There's going to be road bumps. But how are you going to help other people over those road bumps? And how do you expect them to help you over those road bumps? Extremely creative. I wish Methane Creator's about an hour away from me. I wish he were a lot closer. But I really enjoy going up there once a month to meet with him and his group, and just a fantastic group of people. Back in 93, Iowans went back crap crazy during the 93 flood that swamped most of the state. I just focused on what I had to do. Yeah. And part of that is also maybe the reality. And we're going to get into that, selecting a group here in a little bit. The reality of the people with whom you associate. How much can you depend on them, and how much can they depend on you? Oh, Sue Me has another good one. And I do that. Okay. So I have my book that I keep all my positives in, all my accomplishments. As I read a book, as I finish a book, I'll put it in here. Books go in black ink. My pulse oxygen goes in this dark green. The scriptures that I read go in this lighter green. So for today, today I read Exodus 37 and 38, Leviticus 26, and Psalm 32. Then when I do the rosary or when I do the Divine Mercy Chaplet, I put that in this light blue. Then things that I've researched. Last night when I was teaching in class, Getting Ahead and Just Getting by World, one of the participants said, hey, you need to check into ACEs. And I had never heard of ACEs. And so I did a lot of research on that today. And ACEs is Adverse Children Experience. So there are a lot of psychologists talking about how adverse children's experiences, drug parents, mental problem parents, abuse, emotional, physical, all these kinds of things have an absolute negative effect as they grow up. So how can we help them through that? And how can we teach people who are parents how to not be the negative influence on their children? So I had never heard of it. It looks like a good program. I got to check into it. Oh, the training I did today. So if you hook your solar panels up in series, then you increase the voltage. If you hook the solar panels up in parallel, then you increase the amperage. So, yep. So see, I keep notes on things I learned and accomplishments and things like that. And so, yes, keep a binder. And then I keep last year's. Under all these books. So here's last year's. So you can pretty much check any date. Let's flip this open. And so here's some more things that I did. So here's my Bible readings for the day. So that day I did 2nd Maccabees, chapter 1, the book of Sirach, chapters 40 and 41, and the book of Proverbs 24, verses 1 through 7. Did the Divine Mercy Novena, day number 8. Did the Luminous Mysteries of the Rosary. Then I had resistors and inductors when in a series are totaled, and resistors and inductors in a parallel configuration, you take the reciprocal. So, some of the things that I've learned, so I keep those and in each one of my annual binders of what I'm doing. So this is last year. This is this year. Last year had a nice little rubber band on it. This year's doesn't, but I like to keep the same binder. I've had the same binder for about 5 years, or calendar. Let me see. Ficgtion says that if you wake up and you can breathe, you're good enough. When you're injured and alone, you have to be willing and able to let go of what you thought was essential to focus on what is essential to survive. Absolutely. And that's prioritizing. The same thing, our body mechanically, as far as our organs, in the fight or flight syndrome, provide the proteins, provide the amino acids, provide the muscular reaction and the nerve reaction, and the force necessary for those organs to work, which sometimes can be detriment if you're in that state for too long, because they're drawing from your other internal organs in order to provide that power to your external organs. So you don't want to stay in that for too long. We're going to talk about that here in just a second as well. So Sumi has a reward, it appears, of soft sheets, a good pillow, and warm blankets. Not necessarily. It could be, if that's what people value. What I'm going to be handing out, because these are in MREs and they vacuum seal extremely well, I'll be handing out these. Either these or cups of coffee or something like that. I think most people, for the most part, in a post-apocalyptic world, the rewards are going to be things that that will keep them alive, but things that also are a change to the mundane that's going to give them a little bit of excitement. So those are some of the things that I think. Okay, let me see. Isn't that the truth? Same thing. My sister thought I was crazy, and then the cough hit, and then she had me take her to the LDS Preparedness Center. Oh, by the way, I need to make a correction. A while back on one of my videos, I said that I had taken Sue Me there. We didn't make it down there. I did take some other people down there, but so I did not take Sue Me down there. That was, we stayed up in this area for pretty much for that. But man, she showed me, she should do a prepper haul. She did a haul at I think it was Mennonite store in either Ohio or right on the border with Pennsylvania. Great haul, great prices. Oh my gosh, unbelievable. So optimism among challenges. What can you do to maintain your optimism? Examples from history, psychological impact of crises, the Great Depression. I mean, that was crazy. People learned through hardship. It also caused some long-term things. My parents would not throw away aluminum foil. If they used aluminum foil for something, they'd wash it and keep it. Unbelievable. I mean, they would waste water, but they planned on saving other things that were tangible. Mom and Dad had one silver dollar that was, I think it was Dad's birth year. And so that was their prized possession. And right after I was born, they had that silver dollar, and they just bought a brand new black and white TV. Was it a TV? I think it was a black and white TV. I'm not sure if they had TV in 1952, but anyhow, the house caught on fire. So the only things that they saved out of that fire, the house fire, were me, my baby blanket, the silver dollar, and whatever the electronic entertainment device was that they just bought. I want to say a TV, but it might have been a radio. But anyhow, Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm a product of the Cuban Missile Crisis. That's the whole reason I prep. My next door neighbor was the area civil defense warden, and he built a cinder block fallout shelter in his backyard. So here I was 10 and 11 years old during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And so I started learning from him. I mean, anything I can get my hands on, I read. I probably still have half the documentation he gave me in my library. 1960s civil defense stuff. And that's what got me into prepping was that. And so there are people who still have that mindset. There are people who still have prejudice against our opponents from World War II or the Korean War, because it's a very unique thing. As one human being, they did a test. 78% of the military hesitates in pulling the trigger when you have an enemy combatant in your sights. Okay. And if you hesitate too long, you become the victim instead of that other guy. The whole thing is to make them the victim. But yet, as a human being with a soul, with some moral turpitude, we really don't want to pull that trigger. So 78% of the time we hesitate. So the way that we reduce that hesitation is we dehumanize our opponents. So we did that especially with the Japanese in World War II. We did that with the North Koreans during the Korean conflict. We've done it with the Arabic Muslim opponents during the Gulf War, during the War on Terror. And so what we need to do is we need to find a way to reduce that number, 78% hesitancy, without demonizing the enemy, because it's very difficult to demonize the enemy once the conflict is over. And remember that they are human beings. And so once we build up this animosity, then that animosity retains. Now, here's how do we apply that to what we're talking about here as far as your mindset. And that is, you've got to think of yourself first. In the Catholic Church, we call it order amoris, the order of love. And so you have to think of yourself first. Well, actually, you have to think of God first, then of yourself, then of your family. Because, if you don't think of yourself first to take care of your family, then, you can't take care of a multitude of people. Because while you're focusing on them and you're gone, there's nobody left to take care of them. Then after your family, your community, then your state, then your country. So there's an order. But eventually you love everybody. But there is a preferential order in that love. So We have to remember that when it becomes important for us to take care of our family. Hurricane Katrina showed us some things that, the Louisianans, as far as the process of rebuilding, unbelievable. But there's also the number of people who left afterwards that have never gone back. I can think my wife was teaching 8th grade special ed at the time. And she had something like, out of a class of 28, she ended up going up to 32. So she added 14 students in the class from New Orleans after Katrina. Focus on knowledge and training. The more confident you are in your knowledge and your training, the better off you'll be in being able to handle the situation. Kind of the thought process is, I got this, okay? I can handle this. So that's going to be very important. Get as much knowledge as you possibly can before it happens. And then, of course, there's going to be learning by trial and error after it happens. Be very flexible. You're going to make mistakes. Learn from the mistakes and just continue on. Stay informed to the best of your ability. If you can, there is an organization out of Idaho called AMRON, and it's capital A, small m, RRON. So it's Amateur Radio. Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to look it up now. Amateur Radio Readout Operators Network. Amateur Radio Readout Operators Network, AMRRON. And that's here on you can do it on the internet. And that is a group that he has formed to try to keep communication with all the different areas throughout the United States on HF ham. But if you don't have a transmitter, at least you can listen to it if you have the right, if you have one of these. If you have one of these, okay, and this is only like $39 on Amazon. Build your community. Having the people you work with and building that community is going to be extremely important. How to cope with stress and anxiety? Do mindfulness practices. Be aware of yourself. You can do that through meditation. You can do it through prayer. I do it through scripture reading and prayer on a daily basis. I devote probably, I'm going to say a minimum of a half hour and more than likely an hour a day to spirituality and religion and getting myself well founded and being able to handle the stressors that I know are coming. Establish a prepping routine. Mine, keeping notes on a regular basis of everything that I do. As soon as I buy something, and I come here to my computer and I put it into my Excel spreadsheet. Now, my Excel spreadsheet, for example, this can of tuna, of chicken, but this doesn't go in a spreadsheet because this is not the Costco. The Costco chicken goes in the spreadsheet. That's what we will eat. This is for the dogs. This is for the Chihuahuas. So this says that it is about 3 servings of chicken. So that would be fairly light servings, but that's, so I'm probably going to mix this with rice, and this will probably be about 2 meals for my 3 Chihuahuas. And but get in that habit of when you bring something in, you automatically put it into your spreadsheet. Make a habit. Another thing I keep in here is when I oil my weapons, and so I keep track. I have a calendar during this month, and it's every 6 months. I check them, I dust them, I oil them. So it's on a 6-month rotation. I have a habit of Sunday night. It used to be watching The Walking Dead, but not anymore. And my wife would make some spurious comments about it. But I have a honing strop. So I would sit while I was watching the Walking Dead and hone my pocket knife. So that was just one of those habits that I had that I did on a very, very consistent basis. Now I do it watching Mark Levin instead of Walking Dead. There's no there's no symbology whatsoever attached to me owning my knife and watching any particular show. Does not mean anything at all. It's just that's when I happen to have that habit going and doing that. I meet with all my ham guys at 6 o'clock on Saturday mornings. Get up, we go have breakfast. They come over here and help me out with my ham radio. I mean, it's just a great group of guys. Regularly review and update your plans. As I learn stuff, I incorporate that stuff that I'm learning into my plans. There are a couple of you, who's your nurse, sue me. I've got some fantastic nurses. I've also got some fantastic homeopaths who teach me stuff. They will send me emails or send me direct messages on Facebook. And when they do, then of course I incorporate that into my preparedness plans. So I'm constantly upgrading and changing. There's nothing in my plans. No, I'm going to say that wrong. My plans are not 100% today what they were last week. Okay. They have changed. There are areas that have changed, that I've added, that I've learned, and I've improved. Break down the larger goals into smaller goals. One of my larger goals is to make sure that Helen is accurate with the rifle and with the pistol. So because of the car wreck, she has a hard time racking a pistol. And so there is now a Smith & Wesson M&P EZ, Echo Zulu, which means it's an easy rack. We tried that at the gun store. She can handle that. So it's a question of, do I get her an EZ, Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm EZ, or do I get her a revolver? Or do I let her have a 22? So I'm breaking these steps down, okay? First, we have to decide what caliber, what weapon. Then we take her to the range, find a qualified instructor. I know it's kind of like riding a bike or driving a car. You really don't want to have somebody you love teaching you how to do it. That's not always the best thing to do. So I'm going to have a professional to have her do that. Once we get her comfortable with the sidearm, then we'll go to the long barrel. So, progressive. Do regular training drills. We do that with our group. Diversify your skills. Learn something new. I'm learning gardening. I mean, I suck at gardening. I have tried and tried and tried, and I'm doing my best, but for some reason, I just am not a gardener, and I need to really do that. Create your comfort zone. This is a key one. Stay informed, but don't get overwhelmed. Know when it's time to turn off the TV. You can get overwhelmed with bad news, and I get and I'm deleting people. Facebook, YouTube. If you're a totally negative person, I have no need for you in my life. I'm thinking about, I belong to I represent our organization at the city's ministerial alliance, where all the major religions come together once a month, and we work together to do things like operate a homeless shelter. We have a food bank and things like that the coalition runs. And I tell you what, there's one church that I just need to get rid of. They're too negative. I need to get them out of my life. And so I'm thinking about asking our president to replace me in that assignment. Just have a hard time. I was walking out of the meeting, and somebody tapped me on the back and asked me my opinion on something. I said, nah, we don't do politics here. This is not the place for politics. And got really upset and tried to engage me in politics. And I don't do politics while I'm working on religious and social things. Building your support network, which is very important in a lot of ways. Who do you know that can help you learn things, can show you the proper way to do things? Develop your own emergency response plan. I like hierarchies. I also like decision trees. If this happens, is this way? If yes or no, then follow that yes or no leg. So ask a consistent set of questions and follow that diagram to your ultimate response. So that's called the decision tree, and I really like those. Maintain a positive narrative, self-talk, give yourself reinforcement, practice relaxation techniques, make sure you're financially prepared, regularly evaluate your mental well-being and check on yourself and make sure that you're doing what you need to do. Connect with nature. It's an important one. That's sometimes I'll go fishing and not put anything on the line other than a weight. It's just nice to kind of sit there. We also have something called adoration. So we have a chapel where there's a consecrated Eucharist, and the Eucharist sits on the altar. And it's a totally quiet environment. And if you want to just sit and let nature and let God come into your brain, just sit there in total quiet in a semi-dark environment. And everybody that's in there is in the same way you are. You're just seeking presence. You're seeking something to come into you. And you're just absorbing. And I tell you what, that's one of the most refreshing things that a person can do. Always expect the unexpected. Go through your inventory on a regular basis, see where you're short. There are some things that I'm replacing that as I use them up, I'm just not replacing them. I'm shifting it somewhere else. I like it. It's okay to eat, but it's not something I want to store, that I want to say that's going to be one of our primary foods. Do some emergency cooking challenges. Go out in the backyard. Use some of your supplies. See how you're going to do it. That's how you're going to find out that you need a little bit of this or a little bit of that. You need something to light the stove. You need something to get the pot off the stove. I mean, you find out all the shortcomings when you practice, okay? So inventory checks, cooking checks, do a water usage simulation. Can you really survive off of just 1 to 3 gallons of water per day? Is that really going to help you? So then it says, talking about building your community and your support network and your group, okay? And it says, establish trust with like-minded individuals and do background checks. So our group, okay, when I joined, oh gosh, when did I join? 10 years ago? But our group, when I applied, 3 different members had to interview me. And one of the guys spoke Russian, so he and I communicated in Russian during the interview. But then when they said, okay, you can join, you've gone through everything as soon as you have a concealed license, a concealed carry license. And I said, well, I don't have one. And they said, well, you can't join until you get one. And it wasn't anything other than the fact that you have to do a very stringent background check, criminal background check, in order to get the concealed carry license. So they didn't want to have to pay to do the criminal background check. So by requiring you to have a concealed carry license, the state does the check. And if you pass it, you get your license. I thought that was a very good way of ensuring that you have somebody who is fairly dependable to join your group, is just requiring that they have a concealed carry license. That works here in Texas. Now, I'm not sure how it works in other states, but in Texas, you know that this guy has no criminal background and is fairly reliable that way. Do skill exchanges. We had a leadership meeting for another group that I'm in Saturday night on Zoom. And we decided this March meeting, we're going to do water. We're going to focus on water for the first hour. And then the second hour, we're going to have a swap meet. So that we're going to, for example, I have 3 sharpening stones for my axes. I only need 1, maybe 2. So maybe I can trade one of those away. Every time Helen gets a box of insulin, and it's in a extremely thick walled styrofoam case. And it has those freezer bags in it. So I just give those away. People keep those freezer bags in your freezer. And then if anything happens, you need to store your food, you can put them in these really thick-walled styrofoam coolers. And it's the size of a normal cooler on the outside, that more than a 6-pack cooler. It's like, the Coleman carry cooler. And then you got these freezer bags that you've kept frozen in the freezer. The nice thing about them too is as they thaw, you don't have any cross contamination. So if you have meats or anything in there, you don't have any melting water that's going to get into your meats or into your wood products or anything else. If you can't do that, then at least get a couple bottles, and you can just use straight water bottles. I used to do this when I had my disaster response company. We would stick a couple cases of water bottles in our freezer down at the bottom of the freezer. As a matter of fact, we did 4 of them. We kept 4 down there, and we'd freeze those overnight. Then that's what we would use for our soda. Instead of buying ice, we'd use these frozen water bottles and put them in between the Coke bottles in our cooler out front. And people would buy it, and they liked the idea that having the frozen water as a water bottle. And we got, we could sell those for $3 a bottle, and that was no problem at all. But people really like those. So let me see, community education, do training on how to budget shop, do self-defense workshops, gardening and clanning classes, firearm safety courses, and that's the chapter. So that's pretty much it. We are at 45 minutes. I still want to cover a little bit in this book, but I need to catch up on, I'm sorry, I coughed into the mic. But I need to oh, by the way, we do step 1 of a 2-step process of correcting this cough. So that's going to happen Monday morning. So wish me luck with that. The bad thing is that I think she is getting the same thing that I have, and she's been coughing an awful lot like me. And it's coming up as well. So yeah. So as a matter of fact, we're going on a tour tomorrow, and so we have some. We're taking some barf bags with us because of our coughing, our extremely overly productive coughs. Let me see. Okay. So I think this is all in reference to my journal and my journaling here. Tammy Harder, I made a shopping list a couple of weeks ago. Didn't have my glasses on when I was going out the door and just grabbed it as soon as my list, but ended up with a recipe in my hands too. So I don't know. Here's how I do it. Let me dig my wallet out. Okay. So I take, and they're larger, they're 4x6s now. We used to have 3x5 and 5x8s, but now it's 4x6. So I take a 4x6 card and I cut it into fourths. So that's basically 1.5 inches wide, and then it's 4 inches tall. And that way I can keep my shopping list, and I do it in pencil so I can erase it. So this is my shopping list for Saturday. Down at the bottom, I have my every week I want to pick up, and so I can check off which week I'm in. So this will be the 4th Saturday of the month coming up. So the first Saturday I get bacon up. Second Saturday I get ghee. The third Saturday I get olive oil or coconut oil. Fourth Saturday is maple syrup, and then the 5th Saturday is molasses, if we have a 5th Saturday. So those are my standards, and then these up here are what I want extra. Then on the back, and this is in pen, I keep any books that I want to buy. And so that way, if I go to Half Price Books, I have a list of what I'm going to look for, and I can ask the guy, do you have any of these in stock? So that then fits nicely inside my wallet so that I always have my shopping list and my book shopping list with me wherever I go. So just a thought, I don't know if that'll work for you, Tammy, as far as cutting up a file card and putting it in your purse or your wallet. But that's how I do it, and it works for me. Now the thing that I forget to do is I forget that on Thursdays I try to pick up our lottery tickets, and so quite often I'll forget on Thursday, and I'll forget on Friday, and so I end up doing it Saturday, and I miss the Friday drawing. But that's just the way it goes. KP Heathen, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. Isn't that the truth? That sometimes the local people can show the pros how to do it? Absolutely. And part of that, I think, is we know the area and we know the people. And so that's why this group, oh, can you see it? Yeah, there it is. It's up there. That's why that group, CERT, is so important. That's the Community Emergency Response Team. And so, having people who know the area and know everything fairly well is really critical as far as disaster response. Sometime when we talk, I'll give you let me see. Can I do that? Can I present slides and PDFs? Can I do that? Let me try that. I have no slides. I have no PDFs. Okay. Let me see if I can do it. Can I do video file? No. Share screen? Let me try share screen. We'll see how that works. Okay, so share screen. And no, I can only share tabs that are, let me see here, window. There's Microsoft Word. Wow. Let me see. Entire screen. Sweetheart, I'm sorry. I can't do anything right now. It has Word, but I don't want to do Word. I want to do Excel. But anyhow, I would show you my Excel spreadsheet, but evidently it's not going to let me. So let me see. Gen X Gemini, good evening. Welcome. Good to see Mother Earth Garden Club. Good to see you as well. I think I said hi to Shenanigans. I hope I did. Shenanigans is a fantastic supporter. Okay, let me see. I think I'm getting close to catching up on the comments here. Lee may have to fix something. I don't know how to. Having issues. Private chat. Tammy. No, she's not there. I don't know how to fix that, to be honest with you. So now how do I get back into the media? There we go. Tammy, are you here? Yeah, there you are. Sorry, you accidentally got the black button. That wasn't me. It was a total accident. Forgive us. You are a very valuable part of this group, and so just want to let you know we missed you while you were gone. We were focusing on getting you back. That is sure. We were focusing on getting you back. Well, here's my thought about that Mother Earth. One of the things I found is, Canadian Prepper had a really good, what would you call it, visual today. And so you've got these people with Trump derangement syndrome, and then you've got these people with Trump angelic syndrome, right? So you have TDS and you have TAS. And there are some of us who are in the middle, or maybe slightly to either of the directions, okay? But these guys make no sense whatsoever. I'm sorry. You're totally insane. I don't want to talk to you. These guys make no sense whatsoever. I'm sorry. You're totally insane. I don't want to talk to you. I want people who are looking at it and saying, you know what? this is great, but it could have some repercussions that may be bad. Or this is bad, but I understand the pain that has to happen for a little while. I like this, but I don't like the way it was done. Those kind of thoughts or thinkers are the people who attract me the most. A couple of you out there, send me some methane creators, sue me. You guys send me some fantastic stuff, and it's not always one way or the other. I mean, it's stuff that you say, man, that's something you need to think about. And so thank you. I appreciate that. I want people who are thinking and not falling in line with a dogma, not ideologues. And so unfortunately, what I'm finding is those of us in the middle or slightly off of the middle are in the minority. There's maybe 10% of us of the total population. 45% are over here and 45% are over here, and there's 10% of us in the middle that may lean one direction or the other, but golly, it's difficult. And so the best thing to do is not open your mouth, and that way you don't lose friends. Let me see. Oh, that's good news to hear. That is good news to hear. Fantastic. The one I have had no success with lettuce whatsoever there, Mother Earth. Lettuce, I really, really want red leaf lettuce, and I really, really want cabbage. But cabbage is a winter crop, and so it's kind of difficult here to get that kind of stuff. Trust me, I could use a lot. Look at this. Okay. Look at, if I can get my computer to work here. Look at this beside me. I mean, it's nothing but books and radios and snacks. And I mean, this is like a little garbage dump here. I'm trying to get it all straightened out, but all the books that I have and that I read, and then, oh gosh, you can over here take a look at this. I mean, here I've got one translation of the Bible, another translation of the Bible. All these are prayer books. Then I have my Greek, my coined Greek dictionary, and my Greek grammar book, so I can do my Bible studies in the original language. And but it gets to the point of where I can't move, and the poor dogs get up here and they fall over something, and then they get upset with me. And I need to straighten some of this out. This is my biggest disorganized area. So yeah, and then within arm's reach, right, I've got 2 ham radios, a GMRS radio. I've got my worldwide, what do they call it, shortwave radio. Then I've got my weather radio, and so I've got all these radios that I have. So sometimes when you're here, man, you don't want to be here when all 5 of them turn on at the same time. Yeah, that'll drive you crazy. So okay, let me give you just a couple thoughts out of this book. No, it's not that book. I'm sorry. I want to give you a couple out of the Nuclear War Survival. Where did I do with it? I just had it. I'm sorry. I've lost the book here. See, that's what I get for having all these books here. Ultimate Prepper, Grid Down. Where are you, Nuclear War? Oh, well, I wanted to read you some good stuff. Did I put it underneath my computer when I put my computer down? Golly, I'm sorry. I had some really good stuff I wanted to read to you. But anyhow, let's talk about the cycle. We're going to get ready for next week. Next week, we're going to be talking in this book, the last chapter. They call it adapting to change, navigating the shifting scenarios during the SHTF. And so basically what we're talking about is, different things happen at different times. So when the balloon hits, right, when the balloon pops, there's going to be, society is going to stand still for a minute. Think of 9/11. Think of how many people just stood there and said, what in the world is going on? Instead of turning around and running, instead of getting out of the building as quickly as possible, those of us who are watching it live on TV, how many people just sat there in awe with our jaws down in our laps saying, what in the world is going on? This is unbelievable. I was watching a commenter. He's an airline pilot. He was talking about the Delta flight in Canada that flipped over. And oh man, he lost his cool when he was analyzing the video, because one of the passengers, instead of they're still spraying foam on the other side of the airplane because of a fire. And this guy stops, turns around and starts videotaping. He says, that is not the time to videotape. Strange things happen to us when the SHTF happens. And this guy thought it was more important that he stand there and videotape other people evacuating the airplane than getting himself out of the possible explosion area. And so there's that instant loss of thought. You have that flight or fright instance, and your body at that point in time, I think, is trying to adjust, and it's trying to say, what do I do? Do I run or do I stay? Do I flee? Do I defend? Do I, and your body and your mind are kind of not in sync at that point in time. And you've got to learn how to get over that very quickly. I will tell you that I don't think I have ever been as close to losing it as I was watching the 9/11 towers come down. I was just, the minute they showed that airplane hitting, I knew that it was not normal, and it was not an accident. It had to be intentional. And then when the second one hit, it confirmed it. And so my thought process was that it was going to start happening throughout the United States, that it was going to be kind of like a pandemic. So my mind went for the worst, and my body and my mind reacted negatively to that. And I went into a total protective mode. I can tell you another instance where that happened, total reflex, a trained reflex. When we lived in Hoyersdorf, Germany, just south of the town of Schöningen, which is where our intercept tower was, in the elm forest looking into Third Shock Army of group of Soviet forces, Germany. And so they had a Rottweiler, and his name was Arco. And Germans don't have round doorknobs. They have these paddle knobs. We don't have them here. We had them at our last house. We have paddle knobs. As a matter of fact, when you refer to going back to the States, you say going back to the land of round doorknobs. But anyhow, all the knobs in Germany are paddles. And so Arco knew how to open the gate from the backyard to the front yard, and he would let himself out to come greet me when I came home from work. So the owners thought that he really loved me. I don't know how I have this thing with dogs. And so I would take Arco for walks, and we would go down alongside the East-West German border. And, there are Soviet guard towers and East German guard towers with soldiers, machine guns, and everything else that are, 25, 30 feet away from me, or 30 yards away from me, I should say. And in between us, there's a minefield, right, in the border, and Halt hier Grenze, and all these different signs and fences and everything else. So we're walking along, and we got up towards this little, what would you call it? Stanchion of trees. I don't know, just a little forested area, very small area on the border. And we're approaching it, and there's high grass on this side of it. And all of a sudden, Arco just freezes. And when Arco freezes at the same time, all of a sudden I hear this, and, I just, reaction, I hit face first into the mud. It was a little stream. I just face first in, and said, pop up, get down, because I was thinking it was a pop-up mine. And it turned out there was a covey of quail, and Arco had gotten a covey of quail out. But that's just one of those times when you just instinctively react. And so that happens through training. But what happened to me on 9/11 was not through training. That was through fear. That was the fear that there was going to be more than that for the rest of the day. And as a matter of fact, I was sure there was going to be more than that for the rest of the week. And thank God there wasn't. I do anticipate, as a matter of fact, I just got a phone call from a friend. He just brought it back to me. What did I do with it? I said, you've got to read this. And I gave it to him. Don't know what I did with it. I know I didn't put it up yet, but I had him read Al-Qaeda 2.0 by Sarah Adams. Fantastic book. You need to read it. You need to be aware of the capabilities that Al-Qaeda currently has inside the United States so that you are mentally prepared for that as well, because it can be horrendous. It can be October 7th to a magnitude, to a multiplication like you would not believe. So let me check all this comment, and then we're going to shut this down because I just noticed we're at an hour and 8 minutes. So Tammy says that her husband's company, 200 people, are going to be laid off for a month because of the new tariff change. Doesn't come without cost. You're absolutely right. I'm very sorry for that. I wish there were a way I wish there were a way to correct the past wrongs without good people having to suffer as part of that correction. But unfortunately, I'm not smart enough to know how to do that. And I'm not sure if there are too many people who are smart enough to know how to do that. But bear with us. I think as soon when we come out of this tunnel, the other side's going to be a lot better. At least that's what I hope. Gosh, gold has. Now remember, gold and the dollar are inverse. So when gold is approaching $3,000, I mean, we are right there, right at $3,000 an ounce. The value of the dollar is down here. Oh, by the way, did you know that there was a demand on gold at the London Stock Exchange, the Bank of London, and the Bank of London did not have enough gold to meet the demands of the people who wanted their pounds exchanged for gold. So theoretically, the Bank of London is now bankrupt. They have no gold left in the coffers. That kind of scared President Trump, and so he's ordered an audit of the gold at Fort Knox. I pray there's something there. I pray there's something there. Okay. Yes, Claude Ortega, welcome. Good to see you. Normalcy bias, you're absolutely correct. That we kind of have a tendency to think that this is just momentary. It'll get back to normal. Things will get back to where they ought to be. Scott Hummer's talking about the Sarah Adams interview on Sean Ryan. She is now part of his team and his regulars. Expect to see her talk on the Sean Ryan show at least once a month. So yes, I strongly recommend that. That's a fantastic channel. She knows her poo-poo. Or as we used to say in the industry, she has all of her stuff in one burn bag. It's folded 3 times and stapled twice. So, that means she's really got it together. Okay, that's it. Let's grab this top Bible here. And let's turn to the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. So thank you all so much for the way you treat each other in the chat. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being such a wonderful community. And I wish you were all neighbors. I wish I had each and every one of you here with me as a neighbor so that we can ride this storm together and we could reinforce each other. Don't forget to be back next week. We're going to talk about the community and how we're going to psychologically handle the entire community and adapt to that timeline because things will vary as far as human reaction, as far as social reaction to the event as the time period develops, as that timeline develops. So remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Thank you for continuing to be kind, polite, and respectful to each other because togetherness is the key. Take care, everybody. I will see you next Wednesday and next Thursday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.